Welcome to Parrot Literary Corner. My name is Mutiu Olawuyi, and I'm the host of this show. My co-host here, I have Dustin Pickering. Dustin,
Hello.
how are you today?
Doing great. Looking forward to the show.
Impressive. Before we introduce our guest today, I will want to just implore us to subscribe to our channel if you want to have regular update of this very unique show. It is the only show in the entire globe, as far as the modern time is concerned, that showcase the work of creative writers across the globe. Whether you are a visual artist, a novelist, or a poet, you have the platform, we'll give you the platform. So that is what the Literary Corner does on Parrot TV. So why we are here today to also travel to another part of the States. This time around, we're still within the States. Last time we were in Denmark. There was a time we were in Barbados, and another time we were in Greece. And very soon we'll be going to Sweden too. But today we're in Arizona. So I'm going to hand over the show now to my co-host, Dustin Pickering. Please take over.
Well, hello, everybody. I hope you're enjoying the content we're providing. We have a guest today, Alex, Rafael, Encomienda, I believe. Hopefully I pronounced that correct. If not, tell us a little bit about yourself and where you're coming from, your publications, basic information like that. So get started on that and we'll move from there.
Yeah, it sounds good, man. My name is Alex Rafael Encomienda. I think 95% of the people out there in the world have a problem with that last part of it. But yeah, everything's going good. I've been writing for about a good 20-something years now, ever since I was in middle school. I think 7th or 8th grade, I started creative writing, started working on my own stuff as opposed to, work that the school has been giving me, things like that. But yeah, I've been pretty prolific about keeping my hands with it and keeping busy with it each year. I know us writers and stuff, life gets in the way of a lot of things. We try to focus on our writing and try to put that, on top of things, but work gets in the way and a lot of other stuff. But yeah, things have been going pretty good. My writing's been decently, amounting to something little by little, more and more as time goes on. But yeah, only time can tell. And I'm really excited about all the stuff that I've been able to get accomplished so far. I mean, my recent short story is it's called Enter Chains. It's been published by Arizona, because I'm from Arizona. It's from Arizona's online consortium of the arts literary magazine called Blue Guitar Magazine. And I'm excited about getting that published. Excited about getting that out of being trapped in my computer and out into the world again, which is really nice.
Right.
But
so and speaking of your writing, which is what we're here to talk about, obviously, would maybe one interesting question I developed in reading some of the samples of your work. Do you ever find there is a disconnect between yourself as a person and what you're writing and what comes into the writing?
Yeah, you know what? I think there is a disconnect. I think sometimes, I guess, the more and more you write, if you write long hours, if you're staring at your computer screen and you're writing for 2 or 3 hours at a time, you start to, it's easier for words to get out, and it's easier for you to think of, phrases and things to say as opposed to just, planning everything bit by bit. But the more I'm writing for long periods of time, the more I realize that, these characters and stuff, they are, their own entities, and they all have their own, views and perspectives of things. I know I do give a lot of my insights and give a lot of my personal perspectives on my characters. That's why I think to an extent every writer, with their characters, gives a little bit of themselves in it and has a lot of their own perspectives and viewpoints of things. But I think for the most part, I don't know, characters if you have multiple characters speaking at once, you're pretty much having a debate with yourself. You know, you have to come up with rebuttals and opinions. And the way I write, sometimes somebody even once said that it's kind of like an essay a bit, because some of the writing that I do has a lot of dialogue and has a lot of their perspectives coming out and opinions and things like that. But I think for the most part, it is pretty easy to get, you know, very disconnected from yourself while writing. It's easy to just, you know, I guess move into like a different sort of outlet or something.
Right. So you're into like existentialism, absurdity, you know, that's sort of a vein that I've explored as well. So when were you introduced to those ideas, and how do they influence how you convey your ideas?
You know what? At first, for a long time, I didn't even give any thought about, you know, what kind of approach to write. I think for a long time I was writing literary fiction without even realizing it, because I don't know, that's just the way that I was. And when I was in college, the way they teach writing is in a very, you know, a very staged way. You know, you have to get good grades and you have to follow these little segments bit by bit. But me with my I don't know, I guess the more I write and stuff, the more I started trying to put a lot of my personal ideas into it, you know. And with existentialism, I started reading a lot of like John Paul Sartre, a lot of like Tom Stoppard, a lot of Camus, a lot of, you know, writing like that and stuff. And that kind of sparked my interest in it even more, you know. And I started thinking, you know, maybe there could be you know, like an outlet and stuff where I could, I don't know, challenge myself and challenge my ideas and stuff, and, you know, do it in a very productive way, instead of just, you know, having, you know, just spilling out all my words little by little, having it in a productive, organized way, and having a story wrapped around it and things like that. And that's been pretty, you know, I've been pretty interested in that ever since I read, like, for example, like No Exit by Sartre. It's a very good story for that.
Yeah, I've read it. It's great.
Yeah, very good example of, you know, it's a landmark in absurdity fiction and stuff like that. So a lot of playwrights like that, like even like Samuel Beckett writes a lot of like that. Yeah, very, you know, amazing work that's, you know, that makes people think right off the bat. And even if you don't want to think about certain things, these things keep on being brought up, you know, over and over again, and you have to challenge yourself, and you have to, I don't know, in a way, I guess it's the writing that I do a lot nowadays is me trying to understand ideas and stuff and put them on paper. The questions that I have, or things that I have about, you know, things in general, life in general and stuff, you know. And you have to, there's a lot of fear that goes within it too, you know. Like I'm one person that has a lot of fear about certain things here and there and stuff, and one good way to grasp it and understand it and understand the reason why these things are there, and, you know, like why the moon's here, the sun's here, the people are right here, and why we know each other and stuff is, you know, certain, you know, you have to come to your conclusions and come to terms with things, basically.
So for those out there who are not familiar with the concept of the absurd, how would you define that?
I think the way I would define it personally is, I know everybody will have a much different response, but me, I think anything that just allows you to just, I don't know, close the book with so much different questions, you know, so many different questions of everything. And just, you know, like I always say, you know, we're the three-dimensional humans, you know, we're just humans, and we can't understand, you know, anything outside of our perspective. So anything outside of that is going to seem like we're going to bunch that into groups with a lot of the millions of other things that we don't know together, and it's just going to stay on the back burner the whole time. So the way the way I would define it is just, you know, writing that makes you want more, or makes you wonder about more, basically.
That's a very interesting way of putting it.
Yeah.
And as a, you know, as a writer, and do you ever, you know, doubt the absurd, or would you find that there is an essential wisdom to life that's more cut and dry or basic? Like I think Nietzsche, I think one of the phrases that Huxley and Nietzsche have used as are the eternal verities. and maybe that life isn't so complex, or if it, or like the foundations of life are not so complex. Have you ever doubted the absurd, or do you believe this is a foundational part of life?
No, there's a lot of times I doubt it. There's a lot of times I think as a whole, and I think things are just very, very simple, but they're simply just out of our perspective, out of our bounds, basically. Like, like for example, there was a question that somebody brought up the other day about, and I think I put it in one of my stories, is that like the architecture and the architect and stuff, you never see the architecture,
Right.
the architect is never inside of the things that he builds. It's always whatever belongs inside the house, the cabinet or the stereo system or the record player or anything is always inside the house. You never see it outside of the house, because it belongs inside, and the architect is never inside of the house. He belongs outside of it and he oversees it. So I think in a way things are just very, very simple. And I don't know. I think the way that, it's 25 billion people living in the world, simultaneously. So things are going to get mushed together, and, things are going to get, be influence each other, basically. That's the beauty of making art and putting it out into the world, is we influence it and other people influence us. And it's like an ongoing forever thing, but I definitely see things in a very simple way sometimes. But I think as a human being, I think we're bound to just overcomplicate a lot of things in our heads, basically.
That makes sense. So,
Yeah.
That is sort of a foundation to the absurd, that, it's a thing that can kind of confounds the barriers of a philosophy, and begins with, very basic question, but at the same time, it evolves into like so much complexity. And so, as you develop these ideas, are there any writers that sort of help you along the way to sort of help resolve some of these perplexing questions for you?
Yeah, you know what? Let me see. Any writers that's helped me along the way. Well, you know what? When I read "Waiting for God," by Beckett, of course, there was a lot of simplicity in that story, and there was obviously it's very vague and it can mean a million different things, but there's very, very simple notions in that story that you realize, and you can feel grounded again, or you can feel grounded by something again. So that was one story that kind of helped me, I don't know, shape things, I guess, in my head a little bit, or help to push me go in that same direction.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I have an interesting quote. I actually have a couple of quotes I'd like to pick your brain about. One of them is they're both from Camus. One of them says, "An intellectual is someone whose mind watches itself." And I would like to see, what do you think, in what sense a mind watches itself, and do you relate to that quote at all?
Yeah, you know what? I think to a certain extent, the mind watches itself. I think that, I don't know, once again, I think, being a human being and stuff, being a person, people are automatically naturally selfish, I think. So I think that, the mind watches itself. That could mean so many different things, but I think to me, I don't know, I think there's a lot that goes into, art forms or anything, that's why, for the most part, a lot of artists are the kind of people that, they spend a lot of time alone for the most part, or some of them do. And the people that say that, life, that, the mind can go inwards, that they think about a lot about themselves in a way. So
right.
I think a lot of things and stuff, I think it's natural for people to just think about themselves and want, for themselves and stuff. In a way, a lot of people are very, very selfish, but not in a bad way. They're selfish in a good way. There's a bad way and a good way. But
what a lot of philosophers would call rational self-interest, basically.
Exactly.
You had the emphasis on rational there.
Yeah, exactly.
Where you're not stepping on people, but you're protecting and self-preserving.
Yeah, I think it's very,
so.
very, very vital to live life being like that. There's no other way to survive out there,
Right. And would you like to read a sample from your work? Do you have anything prepared for that?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Back in 2017, I wrote the story, The Blueprint of Nova 2029. And what made me write that story is basically a lot of the writers that are, read in the past and stuff, and a lot of music that I listened to really influenced a lot of the writing too.
And that's from where you were talking about the architect earlier. That's from this story as well. I remember that one, that question.
Yeah, basically from this story, yes.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to find a very interesting part of the story here, because there was a lot of research that I did for the Blueprint of Nova 2029. There was a lot of preachers that I watched. There was a lot of Scientologists. There was a lot of so many different, people that I watched, took notes and stuff reading. I'm just gonna fast forward here to the very last bit.
Okay. And this is a very interesting piece, because I read it last night and I found it to be pretty provoking of thought, So, as I described, it's very much in the spirit of Screw Tape, only through emails.
Yeah, exactly.
Screw Tape letters.
I thought it was very cool, because emails, it's supposed to be based in the future, and the future of technology. People are emailing each other, and there's a lot of, technology and emails going around in the world. But I'm just going to read the last bit here, the architect to the philosopher, the last time that they reached out to each other.
Okay.
Hello there. I have not abandoned you. I hope that you and your friend are doing well. I am typing from my bed in the hospital right now. I am afraid that I will not be able to assist you anymore, or even for that matter, because I discovered recently that I have lung cancer and only have but 4 months to live. A story I've been told. It was nice that you believed in me. It was nice that much of the inspiration to you that you believed in could help you get to heaven. Trust me when I say I truly wish you the best. These last couple of years were very important to me, so forgive me for not responding to your rather aggressive message. I truly hope that you have found some kind of peace in all this insanity. Have you learned enough from this life to die with security that everything happens in God's perfect timing? For your sake, I truly hope so. I may not be alive long enough to read your text, so I have made a document with some passages you might find helpful, including the photos and blueprints that I have been so eagerly waiting to send you. I hope that in the long haul, it will set you free from your anxieties and your fears, but sadly, I doubt it. There is something quite interesting that I learned recently while reading C.S. Lewis's Mere Christianity. Do you know how I am so sure that God exists and that his heaven cannot be found by human beings? Because have you ever seen the architect inside of his house? No, you haven't. The architect is the one outside of the building, outside building the house. So for the architect to be a part of the house or inside of the house makes no sense. You cannot find him or his slumber because you are bound to the house. We are bound to the world with no way out. Sometimes it is better not knowing what you're doing here. Sometimes it's better when there's no way out. I'm closing now. Goodbye, Godspeed, and it was great writing to you these last few years. I'm going to leave you with the passage that I read today in a magazine. If all your life you have been a clockmaker looking for the perfect clock, looking to build a perfect clock because you were born with the ambition to live as whole and complete as a book of life, if you spend all your life searching for the right tools and materials to make the perfect mechanism, and then someone comes and tells you that all you have to do is be the perfect mechanism that you can be and you will be given peace, would you spend the rest of forever searching for the missing trinket? Or will you have faith in the man's words and be the mechanism? And that was the closing to Blueprint of Nova 2029.
That's very interesting. And I think that goes into, a quote I found also from Camus. And he said, "You will never live if you are looking for the meaning of life."
That's very true.
And so, and I think that was a very essential aspect to that particular work from what you read. And so,
I actually want to know how. I think most of your work have something to do with philosophy and spirituality. I've seen the concept of spirituality even in this extra that you just presented. Do you have any spiritual background or philosophical background that really affects your style of writing?
Me, you know what? There's a lot of things that affect my style of writing. I grew up as a Christian, so my background and my philosophy is Christianity. But I've ventured out and I've read about so many different people's philosophies, and I've read, even Scientology and even, the works of, very notable people out there in the world and stuff. And, wanted to get down to the point of, why they believe in a certain thing. There's obviously a reason about why certain people, are so, they believe something so much, that you have to understand it. So there's a lot of things that, I reached out in, but I don't think my, belief affects my writing so much as my, I don't know, my inspirations, I guess. The things that I read and stuff stay in my mind. And obviously, like I write what I read, like I'd like to write the book that I'd like to go to the bookstore and read,
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's to answer that question.
So why philosophize at all? I mean, and what is philosophy? If we're supposed to be out living and experiencing, and you say, as you say, which I think is true, many writers live solitary lives, or at least mostly solitary. So why? I mean, and going back to the quote I just brought up, if you're looking for the meaning of life, you don't live. So why live it? Why philosophize at all? What is the purpose, do you think?
I don't know. I do know that people have a tendency to put things in organized categories. We need to have everything organized at all times, and
Right.
there's even so much is going, like if we had a lot of clothes bundled up together and stuff, and we had 10 houses, we'd still have that rationale to put all of our clothes in different cupboards and try to organize things neatly. And, that's simply just our way of, because a lot of people, like they're, I don't know, a lot of people don't know why they're here most of the time. And a lot of people are often so busy and stuff with work and so much other things that they really, like, I guess it's simply just like a longing to find their roots. A lot of people are longing to find, their roots or where they belong, because a lot of people feel that they're thrusted here and they're like jolted here. And like, we're here now. What do we do now? Where's our significant standing? There's always going to be the sentimentality of, like, where do I belong and things like that. It's been like, an initiating writing for a long time, but I think that's just human nature doing its best to categorize things and organize things and try to come to terms with everything in their life to find some kind of inner peace,
And so where can we find your work specifically? I mean, and especially this piece, the Nova 2029, is there, a store? Can you get it on Amazon, or is there an online, or do we order directly?
Yeah, this story particularly is published in Parrot magazine. It's a South African magazine, and they publish a lot of things online. But I think this particular piece was on one of their earlier issues, a PDF file. So there, you can still find it. Go on their website at parrotzamagazine.com, and you can find it and read it on their website. But a lot of my other work is on Amazon, and a lot of them are published in other magazines. Like earlier, a few years ago, I collaborated with the guy Ian Forsyth from Fifth Wall Press, and he actually had me do 2 vignettes on 2 writers. Sartre was one of them, and the other one was C.S. Lewis. And I'm very happy that I picked C.S. Lewis, because I was just going to do Sartre, but he asked me to do another one for him, and that one's on a booklet called The Afterlives of the Writers. But I've read a lot of other people's work on there. It's amazing. It's like an amazing collection that he put together and stuff. And I'm very happy to be a part of that. But yeah, that's some of my latest work. And again, with the work coming out, it's called Enter Chains. It's another story similar to this one right here. And that's on Blue Guitar magazine. And they also have a PDF booklet. And I think they're doing print issues this year. But yeah, it's going to be available during spring sometime. I'm posting it all over Facebook when it is released. And yeah, and on top of that, just continuing writing and stuff and putting stuff out there. But yeah, that's my recent one, Enter Chains, Blue Guitar magazine.
When writers write, generally they have a specific audience at the back of their mind. Who are your audience generally? Anytime you write, who do you target?
You know what? I think I just target, I don't know, people like myself, I guess, or people that just like to read and like to do a lot of writing, that loves the art of literature. And, like I look around and stuff, and I look at people that do what do you call it, indie writing, and do live readings and stuff like that. And yeah, I think I target mostly adults and just mostly people that just love the passion for reading, basically the passion for reading and literature, because I think it can't get any more deeper than that. If you love reading booklets and if you love reading, you'll even read, the back of a cereal box, because you love reading and you love,
Right.
you love getting indulged and getting
understanding things. You're just accumulating little tidbits of information that you can throw into your own work.
Yeah,
Exactly.
If you're right, technically you have to understand the language you will use will be determined by the audience that you target. So if you are targeting only adults, that means the language you use will be specific for them. Do you consider the language when you write, or you just consider your message?
Do I focus on the language that I write?
Yes, or you only focus on the message more?
No, you know what? Yeah, I think I focus on the message, but I think the language that I use, I don't know. I think I try to do it very concise. I just do it as clear as possible. I know there's writers out there that write in a much more poetic way and a much more prettier way, but I don't know. I think, but spitting for me and stuff, getting the message across and getting my ideas on the paper and out there and stuff is the main goal. So if I can do that and stuff without having to sprinkle all these pretty words in the writing, then it's good. Then it's clear and you don't overcomplicate it, which is nice.
So direct, but not over terminology, direct language that's not oversaturated with terminologies, like say Heidegger would be, an example of very sophisticated terminologies, sort of like a democratic ethos. You want a common person to be able to read and understand what's being said, but you also want to present it in a way that challenges the norms and conventions and thought and has people reflecting on it.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's the main goal. I think that would probably be the most that'll be the most successful way, I guess, because anything else you'd be lost in either the language or you'd be lost in getting the message. It'll be like a barrier in the way. So I think anything, not too much and not too less. I think sometimes less is better, and I think it works well the way it is. If you try to add stuff on it and sprinkle things on it, it wouldn't really work. But that's with my own stuff. I mean, a lot of people wouldn't be able to, or a lot of people wouldn't. They could pull off writing, prettier and at the same time getting the message across. I can't do both of them. I can do one.
As a poet, you write poetry as well. As a poet, do you find yourself influenced by surrealism?
Yeah, as a poet, I find myself influenced by surrealism or like artists and a lot of music too. I think mostly music has influenced my poetry, and the kind of ideas and mood and stuff I get from the music, and a lot of filmmakers out there. Like, for example, Lars von Trier, for example, is a very good filmmaker, and I get some ideas or some, imagery or visuals in my head and stuff, and start playing around with it, and that's how some poetry comes out. And it's been very, very enjoyable writing poetry. I think I got into poetry before I started writing fiction and stuff, which is really nice. I started writing poetry when I was 11. So that was from.
Do you have a poem to share that would give an idea of, for the viewers, what kind of writing you have, you can present, or do you have something?
Yeah, sure. Let me just reach in my bag really quick and I'll pull one out for you.
All right, while he's trying to get us the poems, I want us to understand that this show is for everyone, whether you are literally minded or you're not. It is for you to gain ideas from different writers across the globe. In creative world, you learn beyond the normal environment to find yourself. That's why we created this platform, to give the voice for all, not only for creative writers. So if you want to constantly enjoy the content of the words and works of creative writers across the globe, subscribe to our channel and you will definitely enjoy yourself with us. So over to you, Alex.
All right, I'm ready.
Go for it.
I'm gonna read a poem right here from your own magazine, Harbinger Asylum, the issue of 2017.
I remember that one.
That was published. Yeah, yes. I appreciate you appreciate you taking the time to read my work on that one.
Absolutely.
But this one's a pretty old, quite short. Let me read it really quick. It's called The Serpent. He wears corduroy skins, amputation of the limbs and structure, made of silicone breasts, the fairest cluster. I betoken a fatal charm, wherein I see the leathers of his blackened face, and he smiles a vapor, fluorescence, and me too. And that was that.
Okay.
It has a very
it's very brief.
southwesternish feel to it. At the same
Yeah.
time, kind of almost a sci-fi vibe.
It is, yeah. I played with a lot of different words and stuff.
Convergence
a lot
of yeah.
conversions of words, and you know, two words put together and stuff. It worked really well at the time, and it really at the time I think this was one of the poems that I really eagerly wanted to get out in there and stuff into the world, because it's been sitting on my computer for a long time. But that's been the case with a lot of my writing, especially poetry. It's been sitting in my computer, and every now and then I go over there and edit it or change a few things here and there and stuff, and then I send it off.
Would you
how
mind
long was that
informing
one?
our viewers what inspired you to write the poem?
What inspired me to write the poem?
This one, yes.
Yeah. You know what? I think this one right here is simply just my my passion for words, or maybe not even passion, just the way I like certain words written on paper. So there's certain words that just look really pretty on paper that you'd like to see bundled up together and stuff. And if it makes sense, then it's good. But if it doesn't make sense, I don't care. I mean, it's still really good because it's pretty words put together and stuff. And that's what you call poetry, right? Really nice words put together that make somebody visualize whatever they want. So
people are going to take from it what they want. So how long was that poem sort of on your computer, as you say, before it was into the magazine?
Yeah, I think this particular poem was sitting in my desk for about probably a year and a half, because when I write poems like this, you know, I sometimes forget about them, even, you know, especially very, very short ones like this. So and it's also very fitting to be in Harbinger Asylum, because Harbinger Asylum is a very great project filled with other writers that made little bitty poems here and there and stuff and sprinkle their ideas all over the place. So this was very fitting for this one. But I do have longer poems, and longer poems, you know, tend to take much more time and much more editing and stuff. And I've had a few of those poems here and there too and stuff. It all depends on where they fit best at. You know, I think this one is very fitting for Harbinger Asylum. My short story coming out later on is going to fit very well with the Blue Guitar magazine, because they also have stories that are the same length and the same type of story and type of feel for it. I think that's great. I think it's a great thing when you find, you know, a good market for your work that fits well with it. It doesn't feel out of place.
Do you research go behind and try to understand the editors and their preferences, or is it sort of a roll of the dice, or how do you choose a publisher for your individual poetry or your individual pieces?
Yeah, you know what? For my poetry, I think I tend to give it less thought than with my fiction. When I, you know, once I'm done editing and, you know, rereading and reproofing my stories and stuff, that's when I tend to look deeply into, you know, the editors, their preferences, and the market and how it looks in the market and stuff, and if it fits well, or if it's going to be. Sometimes I think if it's going to fit well, or if it's going to feel out of place, or either be overlooked by something else in the market or something. I just like to know that it's going to be seen, it's going to be read, and, you know, basically, I don't know, have a very fitting home for it. You know, that's as indie writers, I think that's as much as we can get. You know, we're not divas and stuff. I think the most that we can ask for is for our writing to have a good and fitting home for it. I mean, there's a lot of times in the past sometimes we didn't even get paid, or like I didn't even get paid for some of the things I put out, let's say like 4 or 5 years ago. So finding a place, like a very fitting place for writing, I think it's very important, you know.
Do you I mean, part of the editing and writing experience is also the networking, you know, getting involved with other people. Have you ever done any collaborations?
No, I haven't done any collaborations. The closest that I've came to a collaboration was that what do you call it, Afterlives of the Writers with Ian Forsyth. Other than that, I did do live readings locally in Phoenix here. So I've done live readings before, and I've went to seminars, and I've I've did a lot of workshop stuff, and I've even got some good lessons from different people, writers that were, writing from the seminars and stuff like that. Like forgot her name. She was a very, very prolific journalist that came to a seminar one time, and she was the one that tried to get everybody to succeed at cover letters and stuff. And I think that's where right now I could pull off the most brilliant cover letter because of that seminar. I think different people, you learn from along the way, different things like that.
Right. So do you have any other plans outside of writing professionally, like, I don't know, teaching, being a professor of some kind, or are you just going to continue writing, doing your day job kind of thing, or being a student? What else, other activities that occupy you as professionally that may have something to do with influencing your writing?
Yeah, you know what? I think I don't think being a teacher or anything in journalism is meant for me. I think that would take away the passion for writing or the fun of it. But I think I do have lots of other passions. Like I play piano and I play music, and I also I do a lot of lately. I think I think my passion's been editorial work. So I think lately and stuff, being an editor and helping other writers out there, like get noticed, or reading other writers' works out there and finding a good fitting home for it and a good platform, I think is what I'd like to do before I do anything else, like, branch out and, beyond writing,
Right.
So I think that's why I don't know if I mentioned before, but I have a new literary magazine called Happiness. And
Okay.
it's right now it's only an online literary magazine, but the more and more I get, it gets circulation out there and stuff, by the end of each year, I'm planning on putting out anthologies from all the writers that, partake in the magazine and contribute to the magazine and this and that. But I think that's been what my focus has been so far, like the past few months.
So we have about a minute or so to go. Is there any kind of advice you would have as an editor, as well as a poet and writer, for future people who want to, maybe young people who would like to get involved in the writing?
Yeah. Just continue reading books, continue reading a lot, and continue, I don't know, being, what do you call it, in your head a lot, because the more anxiety in your head that you have, the more things, chaos that's going on in your head and stuff, it's pretty soon you're going to find a way out and stuff. If you take it to artistic platforms, it'll just paint a really nice, pretty picture and stuff on a platform. And also, if you're writing for markets and stuff, I don't think that you should go out of your way and write something that you're really not, fond of writing. Or, I know a lot of markets nowadays, they have their themed markets, or their themed issues, so that you have a lot of writing to do, but you have
Right.
to have to fit your writing, the length and stuff, and the shortness, the length of it, and
Very
into
particular.
very particular. Right. Yeah, and there's a lot of them that I just simply pass up and just, click on away and swift by, because there's nothing that's fitting for my work. I think.
Thank you so much, Alex. I think this is where we have to put a curtain of this show today. I guess our viewers must have learned something. One of the things I've gained from Alex today is that believe in yourself, convey your message. There are people that are also in your own world. Don't expect everyone to believe in whatever you write, but keep writing, keep doing what you believe in yourself, and you definitely achieve your dream. Thank you. We appreciate your time with us. Dear viewers, tomorrow we'll be having another writer who will be joining us. See you tomorrow. Thank you so much, Dustin. Thank you.